been leveling my intelligence quite a bit, and it got me thinking, what would the best order be to do bosses in? No, not from a physics standpoint, there are a billion videos on that. From a mathematical standpoint, let's get into it. Coming in at number 27 is a literal cockroach the daughters of Izalith found scurrying underneath the cheeks of blacksmith Thamos. While the fight is a convoluted nuisance pretending to be a fun puzzle, the Bed of Chaos himself only has 1 health and almost no resistance except for fire. Don't get too comfortable, because the next one is going to be stepping up the game quite a bit. What a better way to introduce you to Dark Souls than a big old demon. Number 26 is no surprise at the Asylum Demon, and is the first boss you'll encounter in the game. Don't let his chunk fool you, he's a softie. He has very low health, extremely low resistances, and a big heart. If it wasn't easy enough, a plunging attack takes out about half his health. He also takes 20% additional damage from Black Knight weapons. Number 25 is the second boss that majority of Dark Souls gamers will encounter. The Taurus Demon is quite a bit healthier with 400 more health points than the Asylum Demon, but still quite low resistances. He's also notably weak to lightning, and you're able to get gold pine resins right before you fight him, making the fight a joke. Just like the Asylum Demon, he also has a plunging spot, as well as weakness to Black Knight weapons. He's quite a difficult introduction to the Undead Berg, but he's a wash compared to the next demon. While the Capra Demon has slightly less health than the Taurus Demon, he's at number 24 due to a notable spike in resistances. I'm getting sick of mentioning it, but he also has a plunging attack spot, as well as weakness to Black Knight weapons. While there are 2 super annoying dogs in the arena with the old Capra Demon, they don't need to die, so they won't be added to the total health pool. Let's just say the next boss goes against this logic and ups the ante. One Bell Gargoyle would put this boss at number 24, since his health is pretty low. In order to actually beat the boss, an additional Gargoyle needs to be beaten, coming in at half health. This bumps up the health pool by about 150%, making the fight noticeably longer than the previous bosses. The Bell Gargoyle's defenses are slightly less than the Capra Demons, but the health point delta cannot be ignored. For the next boss, we're going to have to bone on out the Firelink Shrine. Coming in at number 22, we have a strange cave dweller donning nothing but robes. He belongs on Megan's list. Pinwheel has slightly less health than the combined Bell Gargoyles, but his high defenses edge him ahead of the previous bosses. While the fight itself is a pushover due to him just being a weirdo and floating around, he does end up being a damage sponge. If you encounter him after Ornstein and Smough, you'll probably one-shot him.
I wish I could say that about the next dubious foe on this list.
Coming in at number 21 is a literal bug that was flying around the Darkroot Garden. They put him in a jar and gave him his own boss arena. Don't let the pretty music fool you, this is no laughing matter. The Moonlight Butterfly has more health than any of the previous bosses, as well as much higher resistances. If you ever try to do the Moonlight Butterfly after you just arrived in Firelink, be prepared for a multi-phase slogfest. I did this in my Uther the Lightbringer video, and it was a pain. Having to dodge sisty magic attacks is a real bother, isn't it? Well, wait till you see this next dude. Gwyn's lamest son claims the 20th spot on the list. Even though Dark Sun Gwendolyn is only available halfway through the game, Gwendolyn's extremely feeble body has only a couple thousand health points and falls over like a wet towel. Gwendolyn does have some higher defenses compared to others on the list, but the underdeveloped physique renders Gwendolyn as borderline useless except for his cheeseball wall glitching magic attacks. Didn't take after Daddy-O, that's for sure. This trend would stop in its tracks with this next monster. The first dragon on the list makes its appearance as number 19. The Gaping Dragon has relatively low defenses for being this high on the list. He compensates for his weakness by an extremely large health pool, more than doubled his predecessors, making him an ultimate bullet sponge. He achieves this through his endless hunger, eating anything that goes into his gaper. His miniature peanut head does take 50% increased damage if you can get your hands on it, but those windows are few and far between. The Gaping Dragon is not the only one capable of sweeping you off your feet on this list. The next boss does it in a different way. One of the Daughters of Chaos herself joins the fray at number 18. Even though Chaos Witch Quelaag is realistically about the 5th boss you'll ever face, she has a surprisingly high health pool, as well as high defenses for this point in the game. She has almost tripled the health of the Capra Demon, which most gamers would have fought shortly before her. She's also pushing almost twice the physical defense of the Gaping Dragon that you just fought. Her main torso is a weak point, but not all weapons can reach it effectively. While you may have a burning passion somewhere in your leggings, don't even try, because she's immune to fire damage. She may seem evil, but her intentions are for the best, much like our next target. The adorable Siberian Husky pounces onto the 17th spot on this list in style. Sif is able to be accessed as the second boss of the game, but is not recommended. She's a working class breed, so she's tanky. She has similar defenses to Quelaag, but even a higher health pool to rely on. I realize this video is purely mathematical based, but Sif also doesn't let many windows to unload attacks on her like the previous bosses did. No weak spots on the boss either. The only weak spot is in our hearts for Sif. Our love and remorse for a boss will not be carried over to the next abomination. Once again, the daughters of Izalith outdone themselves by capturing some weird slug that they found under a rock. The Centipede Demon ungracefully claims the 16th spot. He has an identical health pool to Sif, but slightly higher resistances. If you're using a Black Knight weapon, this boss will be slightly easier than the previous two because it takes additional 20% damage from those weapons. Magic users rejoice because this guy oddly has low magic resistance at this point of the game. If there was a mathematical way to convey how annoying the camera is for this room, I would. Luckily, the arena for the next spot on this list is enormous. Coming in at number 15, this cute little kitty cat is the first one to start bucking the trend. The Sanctuary Guardian has a relatively small health pool, but much higher defenses compared to the previous entries. He has almost half the health the Gaping Dragon does, but nearly double the physical defense, quadruple the magic and fire resistance, and 10 times the amount of lightning resistance as the Gaping Dragon. He does have quite low resistance to bleed, making it a viable method to dispatch this feline. The dogs are out on this beast, and he's not the only one running around barefoot. Half human, half dragon, I'm all ears. Because the darling of the painted world of Ariamis blows in at number 14. Much like the Sanctuary Guardian, Priscilla has relatively low health, but a fair bit of defense on her side. She doesn't quite have the elemental defense that the Sanctuary Guardian did, so she'll be considerably easier if you're doing some sort of sorcerer or infusion build. That being said, she does feature a notable uptick in physical defense, making her a bit harder for standard melee builds. The next boss takes low health and high defenses to the highest level. Iron Golem takes the 13th spot, and I know exactly what you're thinking. He's one of the earliest bosses in the game. How is he so high in the list? He has a high health pool at this stage of the game, but that's not what makes him a juggernaut. It's his extremely high physical defense, defense to the elements, and complete immunity to auxiliary effects. There's only one other boss on this list that has higher physical defense, and few more that have higher defense to the elements. If his moveset wasn't something out of a Tom and Jerry cartoon, he would actually be a pretty difficult boss. He does have one huge weakness, being gravity that can just one-shot him. While you might feel like this boss is a brick house, the next two goons on this list are typically the brick wall for new players. The legendary Ornstein and Smough claim the 12th and 11th spot on this list. This one's a little complicated because in order to beat both bosses, you need to fight a normal variant and a super variant to claim victory. While comparing the normal variants of Ornstein and Smough, Smough has a much smaller health pool than Ornstein, as well as half the defense. This makes Smough the mathematically correct selection. Looking at the super variations, Super Ornstein loses a few defensive points and gains 300 additional health points. Both Ornstein variations take additional damage to occult weapons. If we went with Ornstein originally, we'd be met with Super Smough, who gains nearly triple the health pool from his new form. While his physical defenses remain the same in the super variation, Super Smough gains a significant amount of lightning resistance as well. Since most players don't typically go for Super Ornstein, it's interesting to see that this would in fact be the easier choice if you were just going to wail on a boss. Going back to where it all started, Lieutenant Stray Demon blows up the 10th spot on the list. His defenses are quite notably lower than the others so far into this comparison, but his very large health pool is what makes him a force to be reckoned with. As you can see by his large derriere, being locked up in the asylum has not made him miss any meals. He's gassy, completely backed up, and ornery. This is an interesting one because the Stray Demon could be faced right after you arrive in Firelink for the first time, making him the second boss you could ever fight. He's extremely weak to bleed and Black Knight weapons, just like his Asylum Demon brother. I wish I could say it, but this would not be the last demon that would be mentioned in this video. Demon Fire Sage squeaks by in the 9th position, barely. He has almost the identical defenses as the Stray Demon, but just like 200 more health in his health pool. Just give him one more additional bonk and he's just the Stray Demon. Mr. Discharge surprisingly makes it high up on the list as number 8. While he's able to be completely cheesed by running back to the fog wall after pulling him, he's actually pretty chunky if you plan on fighting him properly. He has similar defenses to Priscilla, but nearly twice the health she has. He's also completely immune to fire damage. I personally always felt like this fight took long, and now I see why. This boss can be frustrating at times, but he's a wash compared to the menace up next. In the deepest, darkest depths of the Tomb of Giants, Nito declares himself as number 7. He has quite a few skeletons along with him, but they're not required to be killed, so they won't be factored into the equation. Nito alone brings enough to the table to put him here on this list. He has both slightly higher defenses as well as slightly higher health pool compared to the Ceaseless Discharge. There isn't really anything else notable about Nito other than him and every other boss from this point on will be immune to poison, bleed, and toxic except for one boss. Are you surprised to see the last boss in the game come up as number 6? I am too. Gwyn's fight isn't the easiest, but it's not due to his defenses. He's one quick little man. Not to mention he also plays super aggressively. If you go to get a light attack in, perhaps a little sip of Sunny D, he'll dunk on you. If you remove these tactics and turn him into a punching bag, he's not the toughest. He has slightly lower health than Nito, but notably higher defenses. Being the originator of the element, Gwyn is also extremely resistant to lightning damage, the highest lightning resistance of bosses in the game. You could argue that Gwyn should be higher on the list due to the fact that he's the only boss you can parry, making him take increased damage from a riposte, but as it stands, he'll be number 6. The next boss takes all of Gwyn's elements and cranks it up a notch. Knight Artorias is uncovered as the 5th position. Just like Gwyn, he has a fast, aggressive playstyle that usually makes the fight take longer. While his health pool isn't the biggest we've seen thus far, his defenses are. He's extremely resistant to slash and thrust damage, and extremely resistant to all the other elements. His health is slightly lower than Gwyn's. He actually might be higher on the list if your attack rating's high. He does have phases of reduced damage while he's doing the self-buffing, which would temporarily reduce your damage output. But what if I told you the number 4 spot on this list amplifies that same mechanic? Seath the Scaleless impressively stands out as the 4th contender on this list. Initially, the first 2 times you see him, he's completely unkillable, which should put him at the top of the list. Thankfully, after breaking his primordial crystal, he's eligible to be killed. Seath has a very large health pool, high resistances. He is the highest magic resistance up until this far on the list. He's pretty much a target dummy for the majority of the fight, so you'll be able to approach the mathematical highest damage per second in real time. I'm very surprised Seath is as tanky as he is on paper. I usually do the Duke's Archive and Seath as my first boss after Ornstein and Smough, but I might be rethinking this in the future. You'd be having to do the next boss right after Ornstein and Smough if you plan on joining the Dark Wraith Covenant. The 4 Kings enter the fold with some big boy pants on as position 3. The health pool alone the 4 Kings bring is absolutely insane. It broke my darn scale I had on the screen. The health pool is easily double what Gwyn brings, and is the highest health pool in the entire game. In a race against time, the 4 Kings also have a hefty amount of defense on their side. While they're notably weaker to the elements compared to the last few bosses, they still have a decent amount of physical defense, close to the Sanctuary Guardian. Since this is just a DPS race, these factors make it even more important that you dispatch each king as fast as you can. The fight gets significantly harder as your damage slows down, allowing for multiple kings to be up at the same time. Also, your maximum damage will be hampered due to needing to sacrifice a ring slot to survive the abyss, making the fight take even longer. The only thing you can do to make this fight go faster is use the Greatsword of Artorias, which they'll take an additional 20% damage from. If you made it past the 4 Kings and thought you were out of the woods, this next behemoth will mess your trousers. Manus, the Father of the Abyss, gets the silver medal on this list. He has the 2nd highest health on this list behind the 4 Kings, very high defenses, especially magic and lightning. He's fast, he's aggressive, and he's ready to tussle. Being the last boss in the DLC, this spot is very well earned for Big Daddy Manus. Don't think you're going to get any free shots on this one, because his windows he leaves open for attacks are few and far between. The last boss in this list will give you even fewer windows of opportunity. The number 1 spot goes to Big Bad Black Dragon Calamite. This version we fight is even the weaker version after Hawkeye Gao picks him clean out of the air. He is very high health, beating all but 4 bosses. That's not the reason why he's the most rugged boss in the game though. He has by far the highest defenses in the game, easily beating the Iron Golem. No one beats him in magic resistance, only few beat him in fire resistance, and they're all the ones that are just immune. One surprising weakness Calamite has compared to the last half dozen bosses or so is he's open to be bled. I noticed this for the first time when I was doing my Reinforced Club video. Just like with Manus, your opportunity to get damage in is very small as well. If you like Dark Soul deep dives, please consider subscribing to the channel. Thanks for all the support guys, and I'll see you around.